Welcome to the Private Lenders Podcast with your hosts from Hard Money Bankers, Jason Balin and Chris Haddon. This podcast is sponsored by hardmoneymastermind.com.
Hey everyone, Private Lenders Podcast, Chris and Jason here. Thank you for checking out the show. Real quick, as we're getting started here, if you haven't done so already, go check out Lender Software, lendrsoftware.com. The founder, Bryce, is a member of the Mastermind group. He's a lender and software developer. It's really moving quickly in terms of popularity. So go check it out. Get a discount if you mention this podcast, lendrsoftware.com. All right, so today we're talking about what your team is going to look like as you grow in loan portfolio using a couple common benchmarks. We're going to use what your team's going to look like at 5 million outstanding, 15 million, and 25 million. It's a really common one, right? When people come into the Mastermind group, both online and offline, what's my first hire going to be? If I have 100 loans outstanding, what is that going to look like? We're going to break it all down. It's important stuff.
So usually, like, let's just call it phase 1, 0 to 5 million, or whatever, 1 million to 5 million type of thing. You can usually be able to deploy up to about $5 million by yourself with a business partner, either by yourself or with a business partner or with like one employee type of thing. And usually can get pretty far. And I mean, I know lenders that in essence have hired more and they've put more systems in place before they're ready to, because they're planning to expand and grow very quickly. But for the most part, up to about a $5 million portfolio, call that whatever, up to 25 loans, $200,000.
Yeah, 25 loans and 200K, yeah.
Loan amount, call it 25 loans. You can handle that with like one other person. Now, if you have a business partner, that makes it a little bit easier. I shouldn't say easier, a little bit more formal, related to like who's doing what. Most lending companies, including ourselves, a lot of people will fall into like hey, I'll do the front end stuff, you'll do the back end stuff. The front end stuff meaning like, hey, I'm going to go originate loans and underwrite loans and process loans and close loans. And then the back end stuff is more like, hey, I'll do the investor relations, I'll run some of the loan servicing stuff, collect monthly payments, and do stuff kind of back office. And there's certainly going to be a lot of overlap. There always are. But it's also important to have kind of clear roles of who's going to do what. I remember when we started, almost 20 years ago at this point, we didn't really have clear defined roles. They naturally and organically did happen. But like, if I had a relationship with like a capital investor, or like it was somebody I knew and they called me, I would just run it. And if Chris knew a borrower, a real estate agent referred him a deal, he would just run it. And now there's a lot more of like, hey, let me do, run some of the front end stuff. You'll work capital investors and things like that. And if you don't have a business partner, you have an employee, chances are you'll probably, as the owner operator, you'll probably be doing a lot of the origination, underwriting, and capital relations. And then an employee will probably be doing a lot of paper stuff to paper some of these files, either on the front end by doing processing and term sheets, or on the back end by doing keystrokes in an Excel spreadsheet or QuickBooks or loan servicing software.
Yeah, so let's emphasize a couple points there. So I definitely agree that if you're running it with a business partner, setting it up to front end, back end, like you described, is the right way to go. A lot of people do. It's just a little muddy, a little mixed up. Like, oh yeah, I'm going to originate if I get a lead, and I'm going to handle these capital investors because those are my relationships. And then my business partner is basically going to do the same thing, just over there. We find that it works better. There's more clarity to it. It's easier to grow when you have to find roles between front and back. So I wanted to hit that. And then number 2 that you touched on is, and we were talking with a new member of the Mastermind group just yesterday about it. The right time to move to loan servicing software is when you have 10 or 15 loans outstanding. That's it. The sooner the better, and even sooner than that if you want. Like, everybody who gets on, whether it's lender, mortgage office, automator, anybody who gets on proper software, the first thing they say is, man, I should have done this before. I should have done this sooner, coughed up the money and gotten on a proper system. It would have saved me so much time and freaking headaches. And that's our experience too. So yeah, up to, where are we at? 25 loans outstanding, 200K, about 5 million total. This is basically what it's going to look like.
Yeah. And you can have a really good business operation. I mean, I know there's a lot of members of our group that they have, 5 or some million of their own money deployed, and they're just a one-man operation, and they have, it's a sole operation, and they have one, kind of key employee that helps them with some of the stuff, either some of the processing stuff or some of the bookkeeping stuff, or a little bit of both, and be very, very profitable. You have very, very low overhead at this size portfolio in general. A lot of folks are also doing not a ton of marketing at this stage of the game, so you can keep this thing very, very profitable by doing so. Okay, so as you grow the portfolio size, your team's going to grow a little bit more. Typically, when you get into like the 6 to 15 million, you're probably going to need that extra employee, or you're going to need, a business, have the 2 business partners plus an employee. But let's just say it's, you plus 2 employees, right? So 3 total people. Those employees are typically divvied up front end, back end as well, just like we talked about on the front end. So when I say front end, back end, front end is the front end person is doing processing, right? They're doing loan processing. They're helping the loan originator or you putting out term sheets and kind of papering files and things like that, and organizing everything. And the back end person is going to be, a bookkeeper and accountant. And they're going to be running the books. And technically, their full-time job is going to be like in the loan servicing software. It's going to be in Lender. It's going to be in TMO, and they're papering every, loan, doing monthly payments, doing payoff statements, doing post closings, everything inside that. And I think a mistake that a lot of lenders run into is they get to, because around 5 million, you can from phase 1, you can fumble through this. But after you get to about 15 million, I mean, you have a lot of loans on your books, right? And you have a lot of moving pieces. And I feel like a lot of people's staff doesn't fully have full direction. It's like, oh, well, they do this, plus they do this, plus they do this. Or this person does this, plus they do this, plus they do this. And I'm always like, well, who's doing the, who's in the mortgage loan servicing software? Oh, yeah, that's me, because, I want to make sure it's done right. And I think having clear, identifiable roles for each position is important, right? Like, it's a one-person job to do loan processing, and it's a one-person job to do, running, the loan servicing side of the mortgage stuff. You don't need to necessarily overlap with somebody on this.
Yeah, and I would also say that if you don't trust someone on your team to run the servicing software for you, it's possible that you don't have the right person, that if you don't trust them, or it's just a simple hurdle that you need to get past in your own mind of being like, look, I'm going to hand this off. I like put certain checks in place, whatever they might be. Like, you have to, like, for example, we approve transactions like ACHs and wires going out in the bank. Like, that's important for us to keep control of that. But we do not need to check the keystrokes. Like, we're about to approve our weekly report here right after we're done recording this of all the outgoing ACH. I'm going to look at all of the co-lenders getting paid, all of our accounts getting paid, other vendors if they happen to be getting paid, and we're going to approve it before it goes out. So there's certain checks in place, but we absolutely trust our controller to do all of the keystrokes in the loan servicing system. That's important. And it's really not, look, it's not, doing all those keystrokes is not a top level owner task. You're not talking about underwriting, risk management. You're not talking about high level investor relations and raising capital, which are really like the only like top level owner jobs. You should feel comfortable enough with the person you have in place. And if you totally do not, maybe it's not the right person there. So, all right, just to summarize on this level, we are at 15 million outstanding, 75 units, 75 loans. You have 1 or 2 owners. You have a processor or portfolio manager, as we call it, preparing loans for closing, going back and forth with your attorneys and with the title company, getting all the borrower docs, any third-party stuff like insurance. And that's an important job. That's a super important job in order to grow. You need that to be off of your plate. In addition, you have your controller in place, or accountant, bookkeeper, whatever you want to call it, doing all of those keystrokes for the loan portfolio and the operating account, which is huge. Those things you absolutely, in order to put yourself in a position to grow, need to have off your plate.
Yeah. So then you can focus on, in more important stuff inside your business. And a lot of the next phase stuff that we're going to discuss is growth. And how do you grow? You find more deals. You go raise more capital.
Yeah.
Those are things that you got to head up. And those are, if you hire people to help with some of that stuff, those are harder people to help or to hire. And they're a high level task that you should, in essence, be responsible for. So soon as you get, and the reason why we kind of cap this at 25 million plus, because after you get to 25 million, you have a full blown on scalable operation. And when we were at 25 compared to like 50, it was like the same staff for the most part. And it was
Give or take, it really was.
Yeah, let's throw more gasoline on this fire in order to find more opportunities and more opportunities and more opportunities and have them snowball. And if you were able to get to like 100 million, let's just call it, something really, really high, it's just potentially putting some more people in place to help with some of the marketing stuff and maybe some overlap on some of that administrative and processing stuff. But like, people don't, a lot of lenders don't believe me when I tell them that. They'll say, well, how many loans can your processor process? I'm like, 30. She needs to do 30. She can do 30.
To close in a month, 30 is probably the number. Yeah.
We don't typically do up to 30. We're closer to like 20-ish consistently, but that's fine. They can do that. And I will tell you though, that like early on in our career, we were doing 2 deals a month and we were so overwhelmed, right? Because that's how this business organically happens, is you start with a few and you're learning as you're doing. Right. And of course you always learn along the way, but like you get more efficient over and over and over and over and over after you're doing more and more and more and more of these loans. So every time you write a new loan, you don't have to like, oh shoot, now I need a loan application. Let's go figure out how to create that. Now I need this process. Let me go figure out. You already have the processes in place by the time you've done hundreds of loans, right? So by the time you have $25 million deployed, you already have all those processes in place. So, you have a processor, right, to do paperwork. You have all the paper pushing stuff kind of done, loan servicing to run the whole portfolio. So all that stuff's done. So then additional things you can add is a property inspector. That's one example. We hired a property inspector because we were kind of tired of, doing third-party inspections, valuations, one-off piecing them together of like, oh, this person can help us with this one. This inspector can help us with this one. Why not bring somebody in, full-time in-house, give them a company truck and have them, be our eyes and ears on the streets and go out and, go to the property on the front end. Cause that was us. That's what we were doing on the front end. Right. And you can't do that as you continue to grow. So they'll go do the valuations. They'll go do every inspection for every draw request. And the beauty of that is that actually turns into business development as well. What better way to try to generate more business from a repeat borrower or get a referral than see them 3, 4, 5 times throughout the life cycle of a loan, right? Because you're out there doing valuations, you're doing inspection, and you're doing things like that. And so that's one. And then obviously some business development type of person, maybe a marketing person, maybe some business development people. This era of doing loans is hard to do without business development and hands-on people helping you with that. You can pay for as many leads as you want. You can get as many referrals as you want. You can have as much inbound, outbound stuff that you're doing, but you need actual human interaction to create relationships. And that takes time on the phone with some of these borrowers. So something related to biz dev, is where it's at. And if you're trying to grow this significantly higher than 25 million, and when you're into the 50 or 75 or 100 million, really the infrastructure is a lot of the same, except more people helping generate business and running leads.
Yeah, basically once you have that back office set up, like you have the capital that you need, you have a person running the accounting and loan portfolio, you have the processor getting everything ready for closing and probably also processing draws. That's another important part of it. Then you're just talking about whatever increases business. So like that could be originator, could definitely like inside/outside. We've done full podcasts on that. Go look back a couple podcasts where we covered the right and wrong ways to hire originators in order to scale. The full podcast on that recently. Marketing person running traffic and everything else. I like that. Inspector makes sense. it should be the right personality type. Like I've always been pretty wary of when we're hiring people, not making the mistake of like, all right, we're going to hire them for this job and they'll also do X. Like think that you're taking one role that you're hiring for and tacking something else onto it, because we've made that mistake in the past and learn from it. Where like if you're hiring for a role, hire for the role. Get the right personality type. You can use a DISC profile. You can test people and put the right person in the right role and let them grow into it. But that's about what it looks like at 25 mil. We're talking 125 loans outstanding. What are maybe 4 or 5 people in total? Pretty tight team. It'll be really profitable. One of the great things about this business is that at each tier that we're talking about, in terms of your revenue coming in, the overhead you're going to have, and what you're taking home, it's profitable at every level. Mm-hmm. That's one of the things we love about this business. This whole growth trajectory over the past 18, 19 years of HMB has been pretty damn profitable at every level. And once you get to a point like where we are now, where we this year we're looking to tack on another 10 mil to our 50 million outstanding portfolio, we don't need any more people. We might need a little more ad spend. We might need a little more this and that, but we're not talking about, huge overhead in order to grow 20% in the portfolio. And that's a great place to be. It's one of the reasons why we love this model. We love running it balance sheet, where we control the capital and we make really, really good spreads. We're not doing this like a mortgage company, like a straight volume business where the spreads aren't there and we're just trying to make it up in loan volume. So hope you got something from that. We'd be curious to hear. If you want, wherever you're watching or listening to this, comment below. Let us know where you are in your portfolio now and where you're trying to get by the end of 2026. We appreciate everyone checking out the podcast. We hope to see you inside hardmoneymastermind.com and here next time on the podcast.
Thank you for joining us on this Private Lenders Podcast episode. Please note that opinions stated by all the speakers on this show are only opinions and not legal, financial, or accounting advice. Please make sure to always check with your own legal, financial, and accounting professionals. If you enjoyed this episode of the Private Lenders Podcast, we would appreciate it if you could spread the word. Make sure to check out hardmoneymastermind.com, the #1 community for all private and hard money lenders.